Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast for Kamen Rider Saber. I am Vashi V, and joining me today is.
It's zero, everyone.
What a glorious episode this was. Like, as awkward as parts of it were, this episode was really good. Um, but this is episode 9, which, let me pull up my notes because I accidentally shut those. Come here. Okay. Da, da, da. Ah. Sound effects in my ear, sorry. Um, this is the episode that is the debut of Kamen Rider Slash. Which, the longer this show goes on, the more I'm realizing that this is the show that should have been called Kamen Rider Blade.
Oh my god, it's true. I love Blade, but like you're right. This is the show that should have been called Kamen Rider Blade.
Like, Blade could have been called Kamen Rider Poker for all the fuck it mattered.
Well, it should have been like called Kamen Rider Undead, but like, I mean, I guess it made sense because like Blade's whole thing is like the riders are so tied to their weapons.
Right, but only two of
But
them
like
have
only
swords.
two, yeah, exactly, right? Like only a couple of them use swords.
Like, this is literally everybody has a sword, even if somebody has a gun blade, but everybody still has swords.
Yeah, I mean, to
But
be fair, we weren't doing like collectathon rider shows back then. We weren't doing like each rider show has like all the riders have to be on one theme because back then like riders could mix and match, especially so early on. Uh, I mean, like the most
yeah,
homogenous one at that point would have been like Fies, and even like all three of the Fies riders are pretty like they're similar-ish, but they're still different, right?
right. Like, it was that we have different writers that have similar aesthetics.
Yeah. Whereas like I mean, Blade's interesting in its own right, but you're right. Like this should. Well, I mean, the solution would have been not to fucking call it Saber, but you're right. Kamen Rider Blade is the name. That would have worked for this. Mm.
Um, but this is episode 9, Overlapped the Swordsman's Timber. What a great fucking title that was.
Yeah, it's basic. Well, um, timbre is like a musical thing, so they're just talking
Right.
about like how all
It,
their. Yeah, if you're gonna explain it, you
yeah,
can go.
it pretty much all it has to do is the fact that Saber or not Saber, Slash is literally the music one. That's
Yeah.
about it.
Well, I mean,
His entire setup is music.
yeah, I mean, this show's all been like two-parters so far anyway. It doesn't feel like it, but if you see who wrote and who directed the episodes, then you can tell like, oh, all of them are set up to be two-parters.
Right.
Um, and so it's like, yeah, each of the episodes are set up like that. Um, Also, like Slash the fucking weirdo. He's like if you took Evol's suit and you smashed and gave it X8 powers,
You're
right?
not wrong, and specifically Do Re Mi Fa Beat.
Yeah, right? Like, it's insane. Actually, Do Re Mi Fa Beat is not this garish, right? Like, it's at least a little subtle. Like, it's fucking over the top in X8, but Jesus Christ, this thing is like an explosion of CGI.
Like, the sad thing is, like, I fucking love this.
Oh yeah, this is a fun ass suit, man. It's great. But it's like holy shit. Like there's so much CGI, like watching it, like I'm just getting so much compression when like the fucking CGI shows up. I was like,
Yeah,
holy crap.
which I understand that. So episode starts out with Toma having uh, writer's block because he can't decide on what he wants to write about. So he decides to
Yeah.
follow through with my thought of exactly how the narration of this show goes, and he decides he's gonna write the story.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was a good call. I mean, I also like how his writer's block is kind of this interesting version of like, shit, I got too much shit to write, right? Like I can't narrow it down.
Like he's got too many ideas and can't pick which one he wants, which makes perfect sense. Because that is that is a form of writer's block, is because you have all these ideas and don't know how to turn them into what you want, and whether or not particular one's called to you. But Toma has mastered the power of King Arthur. Hooray, that didn't take as long as that guy White said it was.
Yep.
That made it seem like that was going to be a whole big thing. Which, to be fair, they're still kind of alluding that it's going to be a whole big thing.
Kinda, but like this show kind of has this thing of like, okay, it's this huge thing for this two-parter, and then it's like, oh, it's done. Next thing.
So, me and Red talked a little bit about this, and we pretty much have a decent idea of why it seems to be rushing, as for lack of a better term, and why nothing seems to be staying exactly on track. Is they're rushing to get the characters introduced because they've decided to use so many. It's having the Q Ranger issue of, we have a gigantic cast, we need to get them all introduced so then we can truly move forward with the story.
So yeah, there's that aspect. My counter argument to that, weirdly enough, looking up who wrote this, is the way they wrote the episodes is like, okay, this is basically the 3 people who wrote Ghost. They just got another season. And the way they've written it is like one writer writes 2 episodes, and then another writer writes 2 episodes, and then another writer writes 2 episodes. They rotate, so there's 3 of them. And they've written their own 2-parters. And every single 2-parter has a different director. So it's like, there's no fucking consistency at all. Right? And
Right.
we'll get into it, but like this episode, the reason why it looks so fucking good is because Koichi Sakamoto came back to fucking shoot this, and I'm like, holy shit, no wonder it looks freaking amazing. I mean, like, last episode was good, but this is like insanely good, right? For this show.
I figured out why Nobuhiro, who wrote the episode, why this seemed so awkward for this show.
Yeah.
And why certain things happen in it.
Right.
He wrote several episodes of O's.
Yeah.
A couple episodes of Gaim, an episode of Drive.
Right. I mean, he wrote decent chunk of Ghost.
Yeah, and it's like every couple of episodes for Ghost.
Yeah, and then the one episode that he did is like 3 and 4, which is a Buster's 2-parter, which is like, okay, here's the characters, they're here now, here's the plot line, they're here now, action. And it's like, well, that's pretty much what this is, slightly a little bit better.
He also wrote he also wrote one of the worst things in writer history, in my opinion.
Okay, which one is this?
He wrote Gates Majesty.
Oh god, I haven't seen that, but it's a fucking train wreck, that movie, right?
You've watched Zio, right?
Yeah, I watched Zio.
Congratulations, you've watched the movie.
It's Clip Show the movie? Oh my god.
Essentially, it runs through, like, it takes place after the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But Woz decides he wants to be a giant prick and do the same thing that Schwartz did.
Oh, and reset the timeline? Oh my god.
But using Gates. So it's literally that middle chunk where Gates is deciding whether or not he wants to work with Woz.
Yeah.
It's literally that portion of the show. Again.
I mean, that was interesting, but I'm not sure enough to watch it again. Right?
Yeah, no, it's not worth it. It's so not worth it.
Yeah. That's fucking awful. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I was watching this episode, and then they have that scene where they're all in the like knight's chamber. I mean, like the fucking base, right?
Yeah.
And they're all just standing around like, holy fuck, that scene is awkward as hell. When it comes to acting, it's because the dialogue's not even good too, on top of that. But right, like once that scene's over, the episode is solid. Right? Like the voice acting for the most part is okay. The suit acting is so fucking good. I'm like, oh right, like these are different people. Right? Like I'm like, oh, suddenly they can act. I'm like, oh wait, no, those are the suit actors. They know what the fuck they're doing.
Like I feel the issue is like especially with the dialogue is there's so much that they want to do.
Yeah.
But they haven't gotten to the point of actually moving on with the story.
Right. It's just exposition.
So it becomes exposition and it's chunky and it just doesn't roll very well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially anything with May, where it's like May is like really okay. The only thing saving May's dialogue is the actress is like super hyper. And so she's like her energy is carrying those fucking moments. Because like her dialogue is trash. Right?
Yeah, because a lot of her dialogue is like I feel bad for wording it this way, but it's pretty much the only way to word it. She wants to date Blades.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, that's kind of gone down lately, but yeah, you're right. She kind of just wants to explore now, but fair point.
Now it's at the point, and it's that, and she wants to be useful in a point where she has no use.
Right. I feel like they're just setting her up to be like the new Sophia, but it's like it's so on the nose.
Right.
Which like I can't blame the actors because like it's not their fault. The dialogue is just not there. Like it's like they're saying exactly what they want. There's no nuance in character, which is kind of annoying. But it's like this could have been saved if we had like okay. Here's the thing, right? Like if what's her name? Person who wrote Deno and O's.
Crap.
Right, like she's really freaking good at dialogue. Like she could have saved this because this is basically the setup for O's. When they just go to the diner and they just sit around talking for a bit and then the episode happens. That's basically what the base scenes are like. Right? And it's like O's has so much personality. As opposed to this, where it's like everybody kind of is always in character in O's, and here it's like, okay, no, exposition, now action. Right, like it's not bad, but it's like, it's so, like, we're like 9 episodes in and it's still set out. Right? It's like we're almost a quarter of the way through the show.
So Caliber decides he wants to step up his new plan. Which he works with Storius. I couldn't remember his name. The one with the hair. Which is the strangest decision that they've made with that character.
I mean, maybe it's gonna have like a reference to a Japanese story or something. We'll see.
But because of him Toma mastering King Arthur, Caliber and Storius concoct a new plan using multiple Alter Ride books, Jakku Dragon, and the Wonder Ride books that the other ones have done or have. So they create new monsters and then basically attack. And it's pretty much the ugly duckling.
Like that's what I was thinking too, right?
It's the evil version of the ugly duckling, which is you're so ugly nobody wants to see you. So, it's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
The primary one, it's the unseen. Where did this go?
Yeah, I think that's probably a reference to the original story, but like it's been a while. I haven't read this, but yeah, I remember this is a lot more intense in the original too. But yeah, you're right. It's basically the ugly duckling, which is like an interesting way of doing it because like you just get like an army of monsters, right? And and which is interesting because they're not the same suit. I mean, like they're mostly the same suit, but they're all different,
Right.
which is
Like
cool.
the accoutrements on it are the accents are all different and the weaponry is different.
Yeah, I mean, like
It, it
once one showed up with like one wing and a different one, I'm like, oh shit, are we gonna have like a fusion thing? Are we going full Sentai again? Like, are they gonna just turn giant if all of them fuse? But it's like, no, they didn't. But it's like, oh, it's nice that they at least differentiated them.
right.
I also love. I mean, knowing now that Sugimoto directed this is the out of suit to henshin sequence, where it's like they
Yes.
get attacked and then they're like dodging and blocking the attacks and henshining while doing it. It's like that's so cool,
Yes.
man.
That has always been an aspect of these shows that I enjoy, especially if you go back and watch our podcast on Real Soldiers final couple of episodes. When that became a consistent thing, is like it's fantastic and it looks really good, and it cuts out that whole, you know, realization that monsters are just standing still while everybody's doing this crap.
Right, which is fair. I
Um,
mean, the wave they've recently gotten around that is everybody kind of gets like henshin guards, where it's like you
yeah,
can't really attack because you're gonna get blown back, which is fair. But like this, I always love the incorporation. I mean, tying that back to Blade is like the whole reason Blade has that energy shield thing is like if a monster attacks while they're trying to henshin, they're like a henshin like
they,
shield thing will
the,
just blow them away.
yeah, the
Which
thing,
is like they used that early on in Blade a couple times. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
and the that card filter that they run through.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, well,
if
Liangle's one comes back, but yeah, Blade's one and Garn
yeah,
you have to run through.
um, like I said, it's like there's a lot of aspects of this episode that I found fantastic. It's just a lot of it still kind of seems clunky because to me it just feels like they're trying to kill time to get everybody there before things actually fully take off.
Yeah, I feel like once like Caliber like because he's talking about how like life is not so simple. Like who cares if I'm a good guy or not? Like I just want the truth. Like until like I feel like they're just setting up Caliber to be like an anti-hero and like until like he gets revealed and joins the good guys, like the real
Yeah.
story is not gonna start until then, and which might be like the end of this arc. Um, so a couple more episodes, maybe then like the full story starts. Who knows?
Um, but as the monsters are wreaking havoc and they're going to a fight, one of them is invisible and running around and getting cheap shots in. Caliber uses this time to attack, especially Blades and Espada, and and Toma, and steals one of each of their ride books.
Yeah, this is
Um,
so like an O's episode, right?
oh no, this is literally a flat out an O's episode because after this, Toma gets his book back, which happens to be, what is it, Story Juru or what? How did you pronounce?
It's Journey to the West.
Yeah, Sayu Journey. Which, yeah, Journey to the West. And
Well, I mean that's not
literally,
his book. That's actually one of Caliber's ones, actually.
right, but he gets it. He gets it and uses it with Brave Dragon and Storm Eagle, which, using Blade's words, or I think it was Blades who said it. I'm gonna assume it was Blades who said it.
Yeah, Blades.
That using 3 of the same color is a wonder combo.
Yeah, Wonder. Right. Oh, like, yeah, it's pretty freaking O's obvious. I also
As
love.
soon as soon as it happened, I'm like, well, this just turned into an episode of O's.
Yeah, I mean, considering Sakamoto also directed O's and stuff, like makes sense. Also, I also love how like once he uses it and he's like fully drained, and then Blades is like, yeah, it's pretty fucking draining to use all 3 at once. It's like, but you know, if you do my special training, you'll kind of get used to it because Blades can use all 3 of his fairly
Right.
well.
And to be fair, that was pretty much once he went and did his training. Because he used it before, but he really wasn't effective with it.
Right, it's good. Like that's one of the things about this episode is like the character dialogue in that scene in the beginning, it's so exposition heavy, it's not good. But anything that's like classic Rider, where it's like storytelling on the battlefield, is actually pretty good in this episode, because like you get the whole thing of like, like the reason we're sending out Kenzan and Buster is because they're the battle specialists, right? Like their job is to go investigate, and that's why they have to be the strongest, right? And like you guys have your own thing. And I was like, that was really cool.
Like they do the tactical thing really well when they actually put forth the effort for it. And then it's one of those things like where in this particular instance, it shows that they've been doing this for a while, that they have this type of coordination down. But yeah, during all this, how is his name pronounced? Tetsuro Daishinji. Yeah, Daishinji. The maintenance guy decides he's going to take a book, a blade, and he's going to go kick some ass. Because as it turns out, he was a rider, had his shit broken, now he's fixed it.
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of felt like he was going to come back. Sorry, go ahead.
Like, that's basically the explanation we got for him being a rider. He was one, it was broken, now it's fixed.
Yeah, I also kind of like why it explains like why he's the mechanic type person, where it's like he's been trying to repair his blade, right? So of course he learned everything he could to make sure that didn't happen again.
Right. Now, like it again, this is that point of explanations fitting the characters proper. Because like if the mechanic had been Ren, which Ren, which is
blades.
No, Kenzan.
Oh, Kenzan, yeah.
Like it wouldn't make sense if this was the explanation we got for him.
Right, that's true.
But yes, he shows up, transforms, and literally becomes a different person.
Well, it's more like when he's using one form, but yeah, you're right. He's kind of got that personality thing of like he's a different person in suit than outside of suit.
Because he's very introverted as himself, but once he transforms, he actually talks and converses. And he ends up and to be clear, he transforms with, and I quote, hazelnuts to Gretel.
No, it's Hansel and Gretel.
Oh
but,
yes, I know
but the Japanese, yeah.
But it's fucking hilarious that they call it Hansel nuts to Gretel.
Well, it's not two, it's to, which means and, in Japanese. But yeah, you're right. It's a weird language translation.
Oh, absolutely.
But to be fair, they're using really fucking weird ass books for power ups, where they could use like fantasy themed writers from like old heroes. Like how many heroes are there in like fantasy stuff? Like infinite, right? And so the thing is like, why are you using like children's stories as your power up? This is like a problem you created, Toei.
Oh yeah, this absolutely is a problem created by Toei, and they don't know how to handle it. This is that idea where, like, the implementation of this, like, the idea of it was fantastic. Even so far as using the books, is like, but it was just a bad idea in practice.
Well, sort of. Like, my counter argument to that is, like, you could do this, but, like, say if you use Greek heroes, but then I'm like, okay, if you did that, then it's just Class of the Titans.
Yeah.
The cartoon show, except in like tokusatsu form. But I'm like, so what, man? Like, I guess after like Gaim, Toei just kind of thinks they're bulletproof, or like Bandai or whatever. It's like, well, man, we freaking made like end of the world shit with like fruit themed writers. We can do anything. It's fine. It'll work. I'm like, stop doing that, man. Like, why are you doing this? Like, every time you have this, like, cool fantasy setting, and it's like, oh, it's powered by, like, the randomest shit. Right? Like, why? I mean, like, the whole thing you're going for is, like, this whole King Arthur thing. Unless, like, everybody's gonna get, like, that's not true. I doubt Japan even fucking knows the knights. So, like, I doubt... I mean, like, they've got the colors for it, but it's more like they're just doing the Sentai colors instead of, like, the Arthurian colors. Anyway, who cares? It's not like all the other final power-ups are gonna be like the other freaking Knights of the Round Table, right? Which is kind of sad,
Right.
but it's like, I wish they wouldn't do that.
At this
But
point, the only way I would accept the Knights of the Round Table thing is if they literally went Monty Python with it.
oh my
And
god,
we all know that's not gonna happen.
I don't know. At this point, anything could happen. But you're right, probably not. Oh, dude. Well, I mean, okay, so we know like Tassel's basically probably reading the book that like Toma is probably writing, but I'm like, oh, what if fucking Calibur's trying to get to like Tassel? But I'm like, no. Like, and that's how we're gonna get Tassel into the show?
Just please let me leave it as Tassel's not actually in the show.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna actually show up in the show though.
Though if it did, Pixie gave me the only way I will ever accept it as reality.
All right, let's hear it.
For whatever reason, this movie crosses over with Zio. In any way,
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
they all go to Tassel's house. Tassel starts doing his thing, and Waz just walks in and goes, "No, let me show you how it's done."
Oh, okay, that's pretty fucking good. I was thinking
That
like,
would be
oh,
only
it's like the
reality.
Zio connection of like it doesn't matter because we're gonna blow up this world anyway. But oh man, holy shit! If Waz shows up, man, dude, Waz would have been fucking perfect for this. It's so annoying.
Oh yeah, but we would have ended up having the same issue where they went, "Yeah, no, you're not just gonna be the narrator."
I don't care. Like, fuck it. We're
Yeah,
going
like,
full
yeah.
Gaim, sort of. I'm fine with them being like, all right, so like DJ dude, he's a character now. Enjoy. Like he's one of the villains, right? Like I mean, like fucking Senin too, right? Like, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
Like Tessel, I think is like the weirdest choice in this show.
Oh, absolutely. Tassel is the one thing in this that makes me question Toei's sanity.
Yeah, it's true. Also,
And
yeah, go ahead.
this is Toei. It doesn't take much to question their sanity.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. Like, have you seen some of the questionable bullshit in the older shows? Like, oh my god, yeah, it's insane. But I was also gonna notice, like, holy shit, there's actually people in this episode.
Oh yeah, like it's not just the cast and that's it. There are actually other people.
Right, and like most of it's done in suit on the outside, but again, fucking Sakamoto's directing, that might have something to do with it. Dude, like the fucking action was so good. Also like Blades and Espada, like one you can tell when like Blades, Espada, and Saber are fighting, they all have different fighting styles, which I'm always a fan of. Right, like
Yeah.
Saber is like so straightforward. Like Blades is like it's pretty like militaristic and like he knows what he's doing, right? And like Espada is like pure just dodging. It's like you're not gonna fucking touch me.
Right.
It's so good, man.
Like there's that point of where like the uniqueness to Rider shines when they do like the Sentai shit.
Oh yeah, right. When they do like the you know after henshin roll like lineup thing, it's like oh, it's so good.
Like for me, it's like Sentai fights. They do a good job of making every character feel unique in their fighting styles, but never to the level that Rider does. Like,
well,
Rider,
I mean, to be fair, like Sentai don't have different suits, so it's kind of like their power sets are so similar. It's kind of hard to do like 5 different things with the same power set, right?
Right. Like Gokaiger, I feel did it the best with it feeling like it was 5 different people.
Yeah, I feel like Gokaiser is
yes, they
just
have
so much
power.
personality because just like all of them use their weapons differently, even though they have the same weapons.
Right, and then you have like Green, who's literally a coward, but still going on. So it's like a lot
Oh
of his
yeah.
stuff is like run and hide and shoot from a distance, and then you have Luca, which is right up in there, swinging their blades around. Like the characters feel different enough in that shows, like, but writer, especially writer shows that have had like the larger cast, like this and Guy, and the writers all feel different rather than just going, oh yeah, no, this is just another guy with similar powers.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, credit to the suit actors, I guess, because like maybe it's also because like maybe writer allows them to be a lot more different. Like each suit actor can bring their own thing, whereas like Sentai maybe because it's so traditional, they're like, okay, you have to be like a member of the team all the time, so you can't really
Right.
do too much. But again, I don't really know how Sentai is done. Whereas like writer, like the suit actors and the actors can kind of come up with what type of personality they want their character to have, so they kind of have a little more range, like as the whole Fua thing from last season where it's
Yeah.
like like there's
Yeah.
so much going on with Fua, right?
And I give the suit actors, especially Mr. Kamen Rider and Kosuke SI right now, because they are the um, main writers for Kamen Rider. The
Yeah.
fact that every writer they've done, it's the same suit actor, but every character feels so very different with movements.
No, they're not the same suit actors. There's like a bunch of them,
Well,
but
I
you're
mean,
right.
like, for like the main writers, it's
Oh yeah, yeah,
really
yeah, that's a good point.
that's what I mean. Literally, the main writer of the show. So Saber, Zio, and all the way back for as long as Mr. Kamen Rider has been doing it.
I mean, like, for one thing, the whole like wizard's fighting style is like he kicks because he's a soccer player. That's like Mr. Kamen Rider's thing. The X8 thing of like blowing on the guest shots before he puts them in and all that. That's like Mr. Kamen Rider. So it's like yeah, they add a shit ton of personality.
Yeah,
The whole like Fua thing of like how he kicks and punches when he changes.
yeah, like it's the little touches that they do to make these writers that all, for the most part, they all fight the same. All the sword fighting is some form of fencing. Because, come on, that's just how
Yeah, that's how you do
sword fighting
stage
nowadays.
production with swords, right? Like,
Like
there's only
it's
so
all
much you can do.
essentially fencing. It's why, like, if you go back and watch, which one was it? Go Sager. The Sentai series.
Yeah.
The main red, it literally his entire fighting style is straight up fencing. Like they don't even try to
Cool.
cover it. They don't even try to cover it up. It's straight fencing.
Well, I mean, there's different types of fencing, so like that's fine too.
Right. It's like, but that's what I mean. Is like fencing is very easy to work into swordplay for
Oh
production.
yeah, that's
one
true.
Of it's one of the easier ones to do because typically it's very fluid and it's one of the safer ones to use for filming.
Yeah,
Less
plus
chance of
it's got
less
like
chance of
multiple
injury.
movement things of like moving around, whereas like most of the other sword systems or styles are more somebody did something, then you have to react to it.
Yeah, it's
Whereas like
fencing
fencing and
is more proactive. Fencing is more proactive rather than reactive.
yeah, like fencing and especially well, saber fencing, maybe, but definitely rapier fencing is definitely fucking offense heavy, right?
And it Gosei Red pretty much does rapier fencing.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, like I've seen some of Ghost Sager. It's actually interesting because like they have a decent variety for their fights, but you're right. Like it's so obvious that it's just fencing.
But back to Saber because we got a little sidetracked with it. So Slash shows up, wrecks a couple of them, and decides to use his power up. Bremen no Rock Band. Which, what the fuck fairy tale is that?
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what the hell that's referencing at all.
I'll see if Google can pop
Yeah,
anything up.
but it's intense, sort of. Where it's like I love how like he's like short tempered too, whereas like the monsters try to cut him off. It's like fuck off, just drop, right? Like he just snaps back at them. I'm like, oh, he's like complete personality change, which is freaking great. And then like once he's done transforming, he just goes like, oh, don't look at me, type stuff at the end. It's like, oh, that's cute.
I love just how over the top and he gets when he transforms into this form, which I guess they've named it Hansel Bremen.
Yeah. Also, he's Flash is the only one with a gun.
Yeah, because gunblades are a thing, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, like Bandai and Toei just can't not go one season without like a gun sword.
Somebody having a gun, yeah.
Which I'm fine with, but it's like, yeah, at least he has like a sword for the most part. Also, like he's like pretty distinctly like, oh, this is the suits. Like this suit system is not part of this new generation of suits, right? Like he might be from the older generation or he might be from in between. So like,
right.
I like how he doesn't fit in, which is cool.
And Ryan pointed out, and I noticed it, it's just it didn't fully click with me. So every rider so far has a blade sticking out the top of their head.
Yep.
Slash's sticks out the front of his head. Like the bad boy haircut, the pompadour.
Oh shit, that's cool. Yeah. I was thinking it looked like Evolve, but I'm like, shit, you're right. It's a pompadour.
He made that point too.
Oh, that's fucking good.
But yeah, especially once he goes into his rock band form.
Right, he's just a punk. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's literally that punk rocker, which in this case in Japan also counts to an actual punk, hence the pompadour. And like it literally goes solid. It's like, oh my god, why wasn't this Gentaro's suit?
Oh, it's so true. I mean, maybe not this Gears, but it's like you're right.
Like, why didn't his suit have some type of pompadour for the bad boy look? Considering they spent a good chunk of the show calling him a bad boy.
I don't know, but yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, he pretty much shows up and wrecks shit. A mystery woman shows up. What was her name?
I don't think we get a name so far.
Yeah, so it wasn't said in the show, but she does have an actual name.
Yeah.
And it doesn't match anybody else's name, so I'm going to say it because it doesn't give spoilers if she actually happens to be somebody.
Yeah.
Reikai Shindai. Or Reika Shindai. Shows up and basically gives Kento gives Kento another book.
The next episode.
Espada.
Yeah.
Yeah, she shows up with the book. It's the spoiler that it's the preview that she gives.
Well, originally I was like, holy shit, are you like a female writer who's evil or something?
That was my thought. Like as soon as I watched it, like, because we've gotten to that point of this show is literally just introduce a writer, introduce a writer, introduce a writer, introduce a writer, introduce a writer. As soon as she popped up and it showed her with the book in her hand, I'm like, oh god damn it, here's another one.
Right, especially because she goes and she talks to May. I'm like, oh, are we gonna defeat her and like May's gonna get her book and she'll become a writer? It's like, nope. Like she's just here to talk to Sophia or something. So I'm like, oh, are you like Sailor Pluto then? Like you're just guarding something and then like whenever you show up, like shit's gone down. Like it's real serious now.
So there is enough character on her to explain what her character is, and unfortunately it rolls out the theories I had.
Mm.
But again, whether or not it's what's listed here is accurate isn't necessarily, accurate.
Yeah, for a second I'm like, well, she's older. I'm like, is that like Espada's mom or something because she's giving her the book? But I'm like,
So,
unlikely, but possible.
so through a good majority of the sites that I look at and forums that I look at specifically for this, there are three major theories running around as to who she is that are not the one that's listed on what I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
You have it's Espada's mother, which again would fit and make sense.
Yeah.
Espada's sister,
Oh yeah, that would make more sense.
because again it would fit and make sense, and she does look young enough that it could be that age range as well. The other one is highly unlikely. That she is Luna. Which, for those that aren't not aware, because most of us probably didn't watch the prequel episode,
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Luna is the girl who gets sucked into the
Oh
portal.
shit. Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
So there is a chance that could be her displaced through time. Or
Okay,
maybe not
that's
displaced through
interesting.
time,
I didn't
but
think of that.
she aged and like the Sword of Logos got her out, and she's been with the Sword of Logos.
Right. That's an interesting. Like, yeah, I mean, like, honestly, like, well, I mean, she could be Espada's sister because, like, well, somebody had to raise Espada and his dad pissed off, right? But
Yeah.
Luna would be interesting because then it would kind of explain like why like Sophia's like freaking out and like why. Well, I mean, like it appears that she's just secretly talking to Espada. I don't know, but the thing is like, yeah, if she's like a like a like a dimensionally displaced person, like it would be interesting to see her interact with Espada. But like, yeah, I have no theories. But like, those are three pretty solid theories, honestly.
Oh my god, I just realized where I figured out somebody from.
Okay, go for it.
So, through this last episode and this episode, we've gotten images of the human form of Caliber.
Oh yeah.
Do you know who he is?
Yeah, it's fucking okay. You go. I know. I've figured it out for a while.
I didn't notice until I looked it up. He's Kaido from Fies.
Kaido
Snake
from
Oil,
Fies, yeah. Musashi from Ghost.
and Juzo from Shinkenger.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
evil
yeah.
sword-
He
the
was in
evil
Shinkenger.
one who kept wanting to fight Red.
Oh, cool. I didn't see Shinkenger, but I heard he was in that.
And yeah, he's Musashi in Ghost.
Yeah, he's Musashi in Ghost.
Well,
he's
the human form.
he's in like Shibuya 15 also. He's the scientist. Like he's in a lot of shit. Like he always plays like small parts, like, but I think like Shinkenger and like, well, Fies originally, but then Shinkenger was probably his next major one, and then like this, if he sticks around to be an anti-hero, would be his other major one because it's sort of like a Bird Dad from Ju Oger, yeah, Ju Oger. Where it's like Kusaka came back and he had like a major enough part. So I guess just the Fies guys keep showing up, which is cool, you know. But like he's actually a really good actor, so like I'm fine with him playing smaller part. Or I mean, this might be a not small part, like a major part, so that's cool.
Yeah, we're gonna talk after this podcast is over.
Okay.
Just for what I'm reading through.
Yeah.
But which unfortunately the end of this episode does tie into what we're gonna talk about once we end the podcast because I don't want to possibly do spoilers. So Slash kicks everyone's ass, drops back into his little "don't look at me" form
Yeah.
or mentality, and Sophia just fucks off from the base.
Well, she comes back. I thought she was gonna die.
Oh yeah, she fucks off from the base to go confront Caliber.
Well, it's because Calibur's like walking around like trying to take down some barrier or something.
Well, no, that's not what he was doing.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least it's not. It wasn't specifically stated that's what he was doing. He pointed out that her being away from the
Yeah,
base
it would weaken the barrier.
weakens the barriers.
Yeah.
So I took it as the attack on her was if he's playing the I'm not really a bad guy.
Mm.
Would be a hey, what the fuck are you doing here? You need to get back.
Huh, that's an interesting point.
Which is a possibility, along with several others. But Espada shows up and, stops the attack.
No, Buster shows him and stops the attack.
Buster. Yeah, it's Buster. And during all that, Sophia asks him, and rightfully so, who the hell are you? For lack of a...
Right, where it's like, I mean, like, Buster sort of knows, but, like, I feel like Sophia's like, okay, are you that dude we know, or are you, like, being controlled or something?
So, here's my take on it. And Rai agrees as well. That's not Kenzan's or Espada's dad.
Yeah. Espada's dad.
The way that question is asked doesn't come across as one of those we know who you are, why are you doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's literally no, we know who you're supposed to be, but who are you really?
Right, that's what I was thinking too, because it's like something's going on. Because like he's not pure evil, and he sort of has a plan, but like it feels like even he doesn't know exactly what the fuck is going on, so he's trying to put pieces together.
Right.
Which is an interesting way of doing it. The one problem I have with the show is like it doesn't do the mystery justice. Like in a writer show, when you're like having a mystery moment, like you'd hear like all this music and like all this focus on it, right? Here it's like that's happening, but there's like no focus on that shit. Right? Like I don't know. I'm kind of just getting like an Agito vibe. Like whenever you're having like an oh shit, we're dealing with the mystery of the undead or something, or unknown. Sorry, it's like oh you have like this intense like tense moment and like all this music and everything is happening. You can kind of feel like oh this is important. Whereas like that's what's happening in the show, but like that they're not shooting it like that.
And then we also get, I feel, a little bit of confirmation with this from the man who's reading the book. Who says, this is intriguing. Just who is Caliber? It seems to be some huge mystery behind all this. I wonder what other secrets are still lurking.
Yeah.
Which, again, seems to just hammer that home a little bit more. That's
the arc we're on, yeah.
Yeah, this isn't the original Caliber.
Or at least, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Like, something's going on, which is interesting. Like, I think that's the biggest problem with the show is, like, it's not terrible. Like, its ideas aren't bad. It's just, like, it's just not firing on 100%. I think that's my biggest problem with it. Like, it's not... Like, this episode's actually really solid once you get past the first, like, council scene thing. Because the rest of it's like standard Rider for the most part, which is fine. And then the, like, Sophia scene happens, which is, like, a little rough. We'll see. It's clearly set up. And, like, yeah, I think what's killing this show is the fucking exposition, honestly.
Right. It's like because a lot of it's having to be exposition rather than full exploration of stories because, again, they're trying to shove in the character introductions as fast as they can.
Yeah.
But still be spaced out in a way that everybody's getting their episodes to shine.
That's true. I mean, I do like that moment after, like... they've done like finished this huge ass fight. Like they're pretty much like this whole episode one giant fight. But once it's like all done, when like Toma is like, oh, I finally realized what I want to do is like write a story about all of you guys, and then they all kind of have their moment. And like it's like a genuine interaction where it's like, oh, Blades is like, yeah, I want to actually read that, story of friendship and whatnot, and like, and then he starts remembering Luna, and like, Espada kind of has like a moment of like, oh, good, you're finally breaking through your amnesia or whatever, right? So
Right.
it's like it's a genuinely good moment for the show. So like it's getting there. It's still not 100%, but this is actually pretty good. But that's pretty much all I got to say for this episode.
Yeah, like it's a good episode, and it's a fun episode once it gets to the chunk, the meat of the episode. But yeah, they could have done some things fairly better, which would make this episode go from, yeah, this was pretty fun, to being a straight up good episode. And because again, I feel it's mostly to do with the pacing issue, which does tend to be an issue for a lot of the shows to start with. Um, yeah, so that's about it. Thank you all for listening. We will be back on Tuesday with more Machine Sentai Kira Major, and back next Wednesday for more explanation into what the hell is going on in Kamen Rider Saber.
Yes, hopefully. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll catch you